Hi, everyone. A very good day to you. Thanks for joining this session. So the topic for the day that we're going to talk about is the 15-day test strategy that helps stabilize a life insurance consumer web application for Amica Life. So we have two speakers today, myself, Srini Shankar, and we have Renee Gilmore from Amica Life. Renee, you want to go with a quick introduction yourself, and then I can talk about myself.
Sure. So my name's Renee. I'm the lead digital marketing specialist with Amica Life. I'm also the product owner for our direct-to-consumer online life insurance application.
Thank you, Renee. My name is Srini Shankar. I work for Aspire Systems. I head the digital testing practice at Aspire. And one of my focus areas is to build quality tests that are easy, effective, maintainable, and as well as scalable. This comes from my 17 years of experience working in the testing space and seeing a lot of poor quality tests. So that's where my interest lies, and we'll get started. So the agenda for the day goes, we have four basic portions. Renee is going to talk a bit about the challenges that Amica faced from a business standpoint and the expectations that they had getting into this project. And I'm going to be covering on the 15-day test strategy that we implemented for this particular project. And at the end of the day, the objectives that we were able to accomplish. I'll hand it over to Renee to get started on the business side of things.
Great, thank you. So just as a quick overview, our project was to completely revamp our existing online life insurance application and really modernize it by moving it from a single page application to a multi-step process with updated styling, updated branding, and also just some new features that included some additional integrations. However, as we began to QA the process and we got towards the end of our project, we encountered a few major issues. So the first one being that as we were QAing this project internally, we were starting to get a high volume of pop-up errors throughout the application process. And not only were these happening across the process, but they were intermittent. So it really made it difficult for us to reproduce them and identify what was causing them. On top of that, for the screen-to-screen movement on the application, the speed was very slow. And we had concerns that as we would bring more users into the process and into the application at the same time, we'd continue to see a slowdown of our application. So with both of these major errors occurring, we'd already pushed our launch of our MVP, and we were actually in danger of missing our second push that we were going for that was upcoming. So at that point in time, we really began to speak with Aspire to help us with some testing. And so as we engaged with Aspire, we had a couple of main expectations that we were looking for. So the first was we needed an independent third party to come and do the functional and non-functional testing of the application. We were also looking for someone to help identify the pattern of failures because we had been unable to do so ourselves and we couldn't identify what was the root cause. We'd also asked for all of the testing to happen within the US, the reason being that would perfectly mirror our existing customer base. As this was a relatively short test, we were looking for Aspire to really perform the maximum number of tests within this time period across a number of different user journeys that could occur within the application. And we were looking to do this so that we could really establish the number of errors that were occurring and the number of users that would be impacted by the exit rates. And then finally, the last two kind of go hand in hand. We were looking for pretty robust documentation of all of the errors from videos and HAR files because we had a number of different stakeholders within the process. And then in addition to that, we needed both business and developer-friendly reports that included next steps and actionable metrics so that we could begin to diagnose and fix these issues. And with that, I'll hand it back to Srini.
Thank you, Renee. So it was pretty clear right from the word go that this is not a typical testing project, and there were certain things that we had to customize in terms of our approach. And to add on to what Renee said, the testing timeline that we had was only 15 business days. So in a span of about 3 weeks time, we had to satisfy all the business expectations and provide a detailed report that would help Amica to take an effective decision for go live or no go. So we sat down and we jotted down a couple of key pointers, that would be must achieve pointers for us to be successful in this project. So I have listed down those 5 pointers here. The first of it being to maximize the productivity within those 15 business days. Because if we were to accomplish all these functional and non-functional testing within just 15 business days with 8 hours of work in a day, that is not going to cut off the, cut it out for us to accomplish all our testing. So we had to find ways in which we can maximize our testers' availability and productive time to accomplish all these requirements. And the second point is on using an optimized approach for testing. With an application such as this size, the number of test cases are something going to be, pretty large, and within the time frame that we have, it would not be an ideal solution to, go end to end and test all the nook and corner of the application. So we had to find ways in which we can test most of the application features with very short number of test cases or test scenarios. Towards this, we had to find innovative ways and approaches, to accomplish that. I'm going to be talking in detail about these in a couple of slides down. And the third point was on documenting of all the evidences, right from, the test failures to the test data that was input into the application and the screenshots and all that stuff. It's pretty standard stuff for a lot of our projects, but it does consume a lot of time to document all these evidences as well. And in addition, to cater to documenting non-reproducible errors, because we don't know when the error is going to happen. So we have to rely on video-based evidence of our tests. So to capture all these evidences at the same time, not compromising our testers' productive time in testing, we had to look for solutions that would help us to take minimal time or minimal effort of our testers to document all of these. And then the next point is on test automation. Test automation was a no-brainer for us because there are going to be, when we went into the project, we knew that there are going to be multiple builds, at least 2 to 3 builds a week, probably more than that, because within 15 days, the development team is not going to wait all the way till the end of 15 days to, do the defect fixes and deploy. So it's going to be happening in an agile way of doing things. So we were expecting a lot of builds to be deployed right when we were doing the testing. And we had to find ways to do build validation test and quick regression and all that. And of course, we had a bunch of compatibility tests that needed to be run across different browsers and different mobile devices. And we also wanted to push as much user journeys as possible in the system to find out the exit rate of how many users can effectively go till the last page of the user journey. And then the next point was on the collaboration with our stakeholders at Amica. With a project of this size of 15 days, the margin of error is pretty low. We can't wait until midway of the project to do course correction. So there had to be ways in which we had to collaborate right from day one, keep an open and transparent communication to make sure that if we are deviating from the course, we had to we can pull it back and be on track. So the collaboration part was very key to finding success on this project. So these were the 5 key enablers that we discussed and documented right even before we began our testing journey on this project. So to support these 5 pointers, our approach or our strategy was to cover three areas, right? The process, technology, and people. So from a process standpoint, we wanted to look at quality as a single objective, not as a functional or as a non-functional testing, but rather as a unified objective. The reason was that there may be errors that could be found in performance load testing, which could probably be the reason why the functional issues are happening. So we wanted to have a unified approach in identifying the issues in quality. And the second point was, the second aspect of the process is for us to find ways in which we could isolate the application features or pages so that, whenever there are errors or, the intermittent pop-ups happening, we wanted to know what page or data in which particular feature is actually causing that. So we had to find ways to isolate our testing of the features. And then the next item here is on the pairwise algorithm. So when we were looking at ways we can reduce our testing of the test cases or number of combinations that needed to be tested, we finalized on pairwise algorithm, which is a combinatorial testing method, and a couple of other in-house best practices. And then the last point, of course, like I said earlier, the stakeholder collaboration. We established a checkpoint call every day throughout these 15 business days with Amica Business. And there were daily status reports and all that so that, pretty much we knew what was going on. Amica knew what was going on from our testing side of things. And we also knew what kind of defect fixes or if the development team is able to identify the root cause of any of these issues and things like that. So the process part was pretty essential and was a driving factor of our test strategy. And to support these kind of processes, we had to rely on technology. And for this, we brought in our homegrown test automation framework. We call it as AFTA 3.0, Aspire Framework for Test Automation, which kind of has the unique flavor of combining functional and non-functional testing together. So with all the predefined components that we have, we were hoping to get at least 25% faster in automating the test cases. And we wanted to have a reliable testing platform where, not just run the testing, the testing in parallel and also across different browsers and mobile devices. But we also wanted to have this platform capture all the evidences, the testing files, the testing logs and everything. So we found Sauce Labs as to be the better solution of the other ones in the industry. So we went ahead with that. And then we used JMeter as the performance and load testing tool for running the or evaluating the responsiveness of the application as well as the application performance when there is a larger number of load, concurrence load, put into the system. And lastly, in order for us to be successful, in implementing this process and using these technologies, we had to have people that are, multi-scale. We had deployed people that are, that can do both functional test as well as do a bit of test automation. And we also had people that are, had considerable experience in life insurance domain. So with these kind of combinations of, testers and having a global team was our initial strategy when we went into this project. And to detail about how we implemented these strategies, I'm going to pick out those 5 pointers or 5 key enablers of success, and I'm going to do a bit of elaboration on that. So the first pointer that we looked at was maximizing the productivity. So we knew that 15 days was not going to be enough, so we had to see how we can multiply this. So we deployed people across 3 different countries, across 5 time zones. We had a team in India that did test design. They wrote the test cases. They had the test scenarios written. They did automation test script development. And we had a team in UK, in London, that did a review of the test cases that were written by the India team and also were available for any script maintenance effort that needed to be done during US time zone. And in the US, we had folks deployed just to purely do the testing effort. Like Vinay said earlier, we wanted to replicate the user experience as close as possible. So we deployed people in all the 3 time zones in the US. We had people in the West Coast, we had people in the Central Time, and we also had people working out of Eastern Seaboard. So we had people across all the 3 time zones with the within the US doing testing and replicating real user experience as much as possible. And with this kind of an approach, our timeline effectively tripled from 15 days to 45 days. with people working in 3 different time zones, there was a great advantage for us to increase our overall time period for this project. And to talk a little bit on the optimizing of the testing, let me give a quick overview on the landscape that we are dealing with. So the application had about 20 plus pages. The application basically catered to people or consumers that would go in and fill out a questionnaire about their health and their employment and all these details to get a quote for insurance, and then fill out much more detailed health-related information to submit a quote for purchasing a life insurance policy. So there were a lot of questionnaire. There were over 50 plus questions in the application, and there were multiple data points or data input parameters that these questions were taking in. So we were looking at over 3,000 plus data input parameters. And when we looked at how many test cases that we could arrive at, we were looking at over 4,000 possible test cases, which is a huge number. Even when we don't have a restricted time zone or timeline, testing 4,000 cases for an application of this size would not be an ideal way to go about doing things. So we had to find ways in which, with a minimal number of test cases, the maximum data combinations and test combinations could be achieved. So we went with this pairwise testing approach, which is basically a combinatorial approach that ensures that all possible discrete combinations of data parameters are covered. And with this approach, we came with about 275 test cases that covered about all the 4,000 plus data combinations that we are looking at. And of course, the pairwise testing solution is algorithm is not going to be 100% accurate. There would need to be a domain expert to review those scenarios and add some of the cases that the algorithm might have left out. So we used this as a baseline and had our SME review and update our test cases. And the second point is on the feature isolation. So we wanted to find ways in which when there is an issue or a failure, we were able to point out changes in which page or which feature was actually causing that. So we came up with an approach that helped us in great deal on finding out the root area or the root problem within the application. To give a quick example on these two concepts, I have a quick example here. For the pairwise algorithm, let's take an example of this case here. We have 3 parameters: state, marital status, and employment. And the state has 3 input parameters, marital status has 3, and employment has 2 input parameters. So in order for us to test this end-to-end, we are at least looking at 18 test cases, which is 3 into 3 into 2. So total of 18 test cases. But when these combinations increase, then the number of combinations of data or test scenarios are going to be much more higher. But with all pairs combination, these 18 different scenarios can be covered in only about 9 test cases. So that's where the pairwise algorithm helps. So this is basically built on the concept that any issue or most issues that are happening in the application are caused by a single parameter or a single parameter combining with another parameter in the application. Not more than 2 parameters cause issues in the application. So with that concept in mind, the pairwise algorithm makes sure that pretty much all the data combinations are combined with at least one of the other data combinations there in the system. So there is a one-to-one or 1-to-2 relationship between all these data combinations that will ensure that most of the issues, or at least 80 to 90% of the issues, are covered within these set of test cases. So this was the concept or the logic behind the pairwise algorithm that we went ahead and used in this project. If you want to know more about this pairwise algorithm, there are a lot of resources on the internet, and there are algorithms with little programs that are available over the internet that anybody could download and use it for your project. The second point is on the feature isolation. So here, we came up with an approach where we created a master data flow that went ahead with covering all the combinations of data in all the pages. So this would act as a master. And if we wanted to isolate one of the pages in the application, let's say this health details page, we would retain the same data in all the other pages in the application just as the master data flow. And we know that master data flow doesn't cause any issues. It's able to go successfully all the way till the end of the user journey. So we use these data and for all the other pages, except for the page that we are testing. And in this particular page, the health details page, we iterate with different combinations of data, different ways of doing testing and all that. In case then we find that there are breakages in any of the other pages, then we know that the issue was caused by data that we have updated in one of these particular features or page. So this really helped us to isolate the problem areas in the application. And here's a quick snapshot on our real-time result. We had page-wise, result, the issue tracking. We had a couple of pages that had majority of the issues happening. And we also had, we reviewed these results with our performance test metrics as well, where if you look at the graph here, the purple line here at the bottom is the response time of pages that have no integration points. These are pretty fast and within the SLAs defined. And then there are some of the pages that have certain integrations that were a little higher on the performance and response times. And then there's a third category of pages that had certain other integrations with the application that were clocking much higher response time than the SLA demanded. So this kind of feature isolation or page-wise isolation of issues helped us to identify what were the pages that were more prone to failures and causing issues. And then the third pointer is on test automation. Like I said earlier, we were getting multiple builds a week, and there was a need for us to do a quick build validation and smoke test and make sure that the build is okay for us to continue with testing. And there are also a lot of different combinations, like there were 8 different microsites that the application had, along with our 17 different browsers and mobile device combinations. And we also wanted to capture the browser response times as well, just like how a user would when compared to running the test with JMeter and other load testing tools, which would predominantly be able to capture only the server request and response times. So we wanted to make sure that we are capturing the browser response times as well. So we went ahead and used our homegrown framework, which was nothing but Selenium plus TestNG as the core framework, and we integrated with our with the Sauce Labs execution platform. With all the setup, we began automating right from day one, and by the end of 10 days, we had automated about 25 test cases, 25 end-to-end test cases. That was going to be a smoke test pack or more of a quick regression test pack. And we did this automation in an incremental fashion where, in the first week, we automated about 5 test cases, and we were able to use those 5 test cases for build validation and all that right from, the 6th day onwards. So it was an incremental automation, and we stopped with this number of 25 test cases by the end of the 10th day. And what we did for the next 5 days was to run all these test cases across all the browsers and devices and microsites and pretty much try to execute as many scenarios as possible. And we did configure these tests with Jenkins, and we kind of, ran these tests at least 16 to 20 hours a day, except for that time when, there was build deployments happening. And in the overall scheme of things, at least 30% of the testing was done using test automation, and over 90% of it was just run during the final week or the last 5 days of the project. And here's a quick snapshot on the framework that we used. It's a regular Selenium page object model way of doing things. We had reusable scripts, wrapper scripts, driver script, and we used separate test data and configuration files. It was ready to integrate with CI/CD tools, and we did in fact integrate with our own setup of Jenkins, and we ran all the tests in Sauce Lab platform. The framework does provide a lot of features with, handling GUI desktop applications and handling mobile applications. using SOAP UI and Rest Assured to test the APIs and all that. But for the purpose of this particular project, we used only the limited functionalities that we wanted to use to get the best results. So it was kind of a plug and play that we use only the certain features here. And then on the evidences part, some of these, we actually had a 10-pointer evidences for all our defects or issues. And most of it is pretty common for, a lot of our projects that we do with, issue summary, description, the actual versus expected result, the steps to reproduce the issues, the screenshots of, various checkpoints in the application and all that stuff. But 3 areas where we went over and above in terms of documenting the evidences were to have the video recording of the test. We made sure that pretty much all the execution, be it manual or test automation, we were using the SauceLab platform and we're getting the recording of all these tests, be it a pass or fail. And we were also able to capture the browser HAR file, which basically gave information to developers to a view on what was happening on the browser and take appropriate remedial action. And SauceLab luckily provided this feature as well to capture the browser HAR file. So we extensively used the SauceLab platform to capture the video recording of the test as well as the browser HAR file. And then we also wanted to capture the browser performance metrics. In addition to what the performance testing team was doing with JMeter, we wanted to have the browser metrics captured from the browser as well. And we use SauceLab platform again to capture these metrics, which really provided a handy set of data for us to understand where the problem was. Is it from the server response or is it from the widgets in the browser side of things? So all these evidences were logged for pretty much all our issue documentation, and that really helped fruitful in getting these issues fixed faster. Especially when we didn't have these errors that could be reproduced. And then, here's a quick snapshot on some of the documented evidences from our test automation. We use the extent report platform, where each of the steps that was performed in the application was captured, and some of the screenshots for the checkpoints were captured as well. And in addition, we provided a link to the video files, on the whole test execution along with the HAR file. And, anybody that could open the file, they could replay the video and also look at the browser performance. And then last but not the least, the collaboration with our stakeholders at Amica. I would call this as more of an iterative improvement process rather than everything perfect right from day one, because Amica was pretty open with us on what were their objectives, what they wanted to achieve at the end of the 15 days, and also what they wanted to achieve on a daily basis. So we understood what was expected out of us, and we went ahead and had our daily calls, and we were completely transparent when we went ahead with any blockages or issues, and if there is any downtimes that we were facing, we were pretty much transparent about all these things. We had checkpoint review at every step of the way. Whenever we built our first automation script, we had it reviewed with Amica to make sure that that's in line with their expectations. When we did the first documentation of our defect that we uncovered, we had that reviewed with Amica to make sure that that was in line with their expectations. So we had these kind of checkpoints at every step of the way to make sure that we are in line with Amica's expectations. And whenever we had to report to the senior management at Amica, we worked with Amica's business and program management team to customize the test reporting and the results in such a way that it's easily consumable for the management to take effective decision. So these were some of the key pointers that was really helpful in the way that we ran this project with complete support from our stakeholders. We've quite often seen that it's these kind of communication channels that really help to turn things around when things are not going well. So we were lucky in that case that we had complete support from Amica in terms of reviewing our artifacts, providing inputs, and helping us stay on course. So those were the 5 pointers that I wanted to talk about, and I also wanted to quickly point out the advantage that Sauce Labs brought to the table. Like I said earlier, we were relying on Sauce Labs for both manual testing and test automation. There was a complete usage of test automation to run compatibility testing. And the two rare use cases that we used was for documenting the execution video as well as the browser HAR files, the execution logs, and the browser performance metrics. And of course, the shared debugging feature in Sauce Labs that proved quite useful as well, where when some of us had any doubts or issues in while we were testing, we were able to quickly pull in our SMEs or team leads or anybody to help review that while the testing is going on a shared debugging model in the Sauce Lab platform to help resolve the issues then and there. So these were some of the primary advantages that Sauce Lab brought into the table. And in fact, the time that our teams spent on documenting all these large amount of evidence was very minimal, because Sauce Labs was able to capture all these and provide it to us at the end of all our tests. So that really saved a lot of our time for our testers. So at the end of the day, we did complete all our testing within this 15 days. In fact, we went accomplished a little more than what we had planned. And we had about 300 test cases that were returned and were tested across 8 microsites and 17 browser and device combination. And the end result was that there were about 15% failure rate, including a major blocker that would have impacted anybody using the consumer web application from Apple device, be it an iPad or iPhone or Safari browser from a Mac machine. So these are some of the issues that were uncovered, which is quite high in number. And the detailed analysis that we did was also helpful for the development teams to fix those issues faster. Considering these kind of test results with over 15% failure rate, the decision ultimately from Amica was a no-go. And the important point was that the test result that we provided actually validated the results of what Amica's in-house team had already done. So it's kind of gave added credence to the work that was already done from an independent third-party perspective. So quick statistics. So we had functional cross-browser device testing, performance and load testing, and about 15% of overall tests that failed. And in terms of aftermath, the testing did extend to a couple of more builds after these 15 days. We did about 4 rounds of testing. You could see that the overall failure rate was brought down from 14.18% the first cycle to 5.38, and then ultimately to less than 4% in the fourth cycle, after which Amica decided to go live. Renee, you want to add anything at this point?
Just that, not only were we able to decrease the number of failures and the failure rate, but throughout the process and the additional testing, we were actually able to increase the speed in which the application actually performed from screen to screen and allow for more concurrent users, which was huge in allowing us to actually go live by the summer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty much we wanted to talk about in this session. I hope that there were a couple of pointers that you could take home. And please feel free to reach out to us, either in the chat window, or you could, email us your questions, and we'd be happy to clarify all that. And thank you, Renee, for taking time to, talk to us about, from Amica's perspective.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all.